Most great bridge stories start young. A childhood game, a college hobby, a mentor who spotted talent early. Today's story is not that story. Our guest grew up in a home where cards were banned entirely. She married a man who played bridge every Sunday with some of the most powerful people in India. When she asked her husband once whether he enjoyed what she cooked, he said, "I don't remember." And she thought, what's so fascinating about this game? When her sons left for university and the house went quiet, she sat down and decided to find out. She started from scratch, learnt what a spade was. Within 2 years, she won a national selection trial and went on to represent India in Sri Lanka, Bermuda, Monte Carlo, Tokyo, and Shanghai. And then she stood on an Asian Games podium in Jakarta with a medal around her neck as part of the first Indian bridge contingent to ever compete at the Games. She is an architect, a furniture exporter, a bridge columnist, a philanthropist, and an Asian Games medalist. She is proof that the most important games in life don't always start when you're young. Mrs. Hema Deora, welcome to Bridge to Success. So, before learning bridge, you were an architect, a designer, someone who was exporting furniture to Paris and New York. You had your own showroom. So, what were you building and where did you think it was all headed?
Well, my showroom I called, of course, that was before marriage, and I immediately after I finished my studies, I had this beautiful showroom called La Maison, means a house at the Brabant Stadium, which was on the main road, and I was working over there. I mean, I was doing my showroom. I used to design furniture, export, and deal with the clients and all that. And when I got married, uh, first time I came to know there is something called bridge where my husband played on every Sunday with all his colleagues, and I had no clue about it, and I was least interested in it because, as you mentioned, I was not even heard of the cards or anything. And later on, of course, the children came in my life, and then I was basically very much family minded, and I wanted to give full time to my children and my husband, who was stepping up in his career. So I wanted to be there for him all the time. And only, as you mentioned, when they went to the university, I had little breathing time. And everybody used to tell me that you must learn this game so in your age, the twilight of your life, you can play with your husband. So that was my temptation to learn. And that's how I decided to get in touch with what is the bridge about. And I was very, very fortunate that I got an amazing teacher called Mr. J.M. Shah. And when I heard about him, they said he's amazing champion and he's international champion and Indian champion. And when I heard all that, I got very scared and I said, no, I want to learn with a simple this thing. And he came to know and he says, "Madam, I like to be your coach and I want to coach you." So I said, "Okay, I will let you know." And he says, no, tomorrow we meet at the Willingdon Club. And he brought a big file and he wrote down, which was like a bouncer going over my head. I could never understand. And next day he says, "You have to play." And I don't know what I was doing. I had no idea. I was so bad, but he had God's patience with me. And he made me learn this game, and we played lot of tournament, and we won lot of trophies, prizes, and he was amazing. And entire credit goes to my bridge is him. He's unfortunately no more with us now.
That's wonderful. So you mentioned that your husband hosted bridge games every Sunday with some of India's most powerful people. So what were those afternoons actually like?
Well, they were busy playing, and I was in the other room. All I can remember, first of all, I didn't know cooking. I learned with a great effort, and I used to make delicious snacks for them. And at the end of the game, I would say, did you like so and so? He says, darling, I don't remember what I ate. And I realized it's a waste of time and talent. And I could hear them. It was like a pin drop silence for a little while, and suddenly a loud laughter and noise, and I could see that they are really enjoying. And especially for all those people, it was like a de-stressing activity. And they were having fun, and I was doing my own things.
Right. So when you started learning, it was from absolute zero. So what was that first learning experience like with Mr. J.M. Shah?
Oh, it was terrifying. It was, I didn't know I wanted to. At times, he used to get quite angry and he used to be very loud. And I could see that all the people in the hall are looking at me, and I wanted to go under the table so very badly. But I don't know, I tolerated. And after finishing, he would get me a nice hot cup of coffee. And I thought that was very kind of him. And I began to realize his intention of making me somebody who I was not. And so I began to cooperate, and that was a good result.
That's amazing. So, most people think it's too late to master something new at later ages. So, did you ever doubt yourself during this learning process?
No, I don't think so. I don't think age is a barrier to learn anything in life. People are learning how to swim, how to cycle, they are climbing mountains at a later age because, especially in India, we don't have time to do anything at a younger age because we have our career responsibility. It's only after your family, your children grow up and things like that. So most of the bridge players in India are learning at a later stage and not at a younger age. There are very few who are privileged who can learn, but those who come from underprivileged background, they have to first see their career, they have to support their family, so they cannot learn bridge so early. And learning at a later age is no problem. I have a very close friend, and she was 60, and she used to tell me, Hema, I want to learn bridge. And so I encouraged her, and I said, you have to learn. And now she's playing every second day, and uh, she's very thankful, and she said, I'm so glad you insisted I learn. So I think age is no barrier.
Right, that's wonderful. So, less than 2 years after starting from scratch, you won a national selection trial. So, was there a moment that you realized that this had become something more serious than a pastime?
Yeah, I did realize, and I did value my teacher very much. And I said, it's just because of his constant effort I learned. And then I realized that this is not the room where you can uh, take it easy, and it's not like a pastime. You have to make an effort to achieve something out of this game. And that was my aim.
Right. So, you also played international events, and your first one was in Sri Lanka, and you actually won the trophy there. So, how did representing India on a global stage so soon after learning the game?
Well, it's always wonderful experience when you do something and you're exposed to the whole world, not only in your own country. And nice feeling is you're doing something for your country and not just for yourself, which gave me a very proud and happy feeling.
Right, that's amazing.
That's natural.
Yeah. So you've also competed in Bermuda, Monte Carlo, Tokyo, Shanghai. So, yes,
Jordan, we went to Verona, we went to Montreal,
right,
Lille a couple of times,
right,
you name it.
right. So across all of these tournaments, you would have played thousands of hands. So is there one tournament or one hand that still stays with you?
Well, I would say one is a very little way to express. I remember so many hands which were amazing, and one of the funniest hand which I remember is in the beginning. I had a super partner. Her name was Pramila Shivdasani. She was much elder than, more experienced than me, but a wonderful human being. And we began to learn strong club. And she opened one club, and you're not supposed to pass. And she opened one club, and my Haracho passed, and I quietly passed without realizing. And so did. So very gently, after going down 3, 4 tricks, she just told me that, Hema, you're not supposed to pass one club. Until today, I have never forgotten. Even in my sleep, I will not let one club go.
So you've also played against Bill Gates and Warren Buffett, I believe, in Canada. So what was that experience like?
It was great fun because actually they were just learning, and I was playing with my coach in Montreal, and we were partnering, and they came as our opponents, which was such a great pleasure. And of course, they were beginners, and we were little better than them. So I wouldn't say we beat them, but naturally we had a better score. But it was such a great pleasure to be with somebody who is so well known around the world. And before that, Mr. Bill Gates was in Mumbai, and he was our guest. My husband had invited to India, and he was our guest, and I met him, so he remembered me. And it was a sweet feeling to know somebody.
Right, that's nice. So your husband introduced bridge in your life indirectly, but eventually it has become such a big part of your identity. So what role has your husband played in your journey?
Oh Lord, he encouraged me so much. Uh, I remember when they used to play, and I began to learn. Sometimes I was very keen to join them, and they would very sweetly said, Hemaji, I think your snacks are very nice. Why don't you make something? And I used to get the hint that they don't want to play with me. But that didn't matter. I did understand how you don't want to play with someone who's not good to play as you are. But my husband encouraged me a lot, and in fact, he was the one who let me go around to play. And okay, he was happy I have a good coach and I'm learning. So he was very force behind my ambition.
So there was one moment when your husband was the petroleum minister and also the chief guest at a tournament, and he was the one who presented you and your team called Empty Vessel with the trophy when you won. So what did that moment mean to you?
Oh, it was great. First of all, I was happy that he was invited as a chief guest in that tournament. And then, of course, we were lucky to win that tournament and to get that trophy. I remember I had named my team Empty Vessel, and when we began to win one by one, you have to win beginning, then won quarter final, then semi final, then final. So everybody was teasing, your empty vessel is getting filled. And then when it came to the brim, we were lucky to do that, and I was so happy to they get the trophy when he was the chief guest. I think it was just great luck, and it happened. Yes. Full circle.
So, after Murli Deora passed away, you've continued playing bridge and preserving his legacy through philanthropy and the Memorial Championship. So, what does that mean to you personally?
Oh, it means a lot because he never celebrated his birthday. He always had an eye camp for the underprivileged. And now we also have a eye hospital in his name. It's called Murli Deora Eye Hospital. And he believed always to his major motto was to lift others so you rise. And I strongly believe in that. And so I also now every year on his birthday time, we have a high camp, and that's the time I have his memorial tournament. And I also, we had adopted one school, and I also distribute, like in the month of June, July, the books, bags and the uniform to the children. And during the COVID, I taught so many underprivileged children. I got them very cheap, small mobiles, but they were big in size, and I distributed in their homes, and I could teach them. And I had a wonderful time during COVID time because it was so useful for somebody who cannot even open the door and go out to play. So I could show them the videos and teach them the nursery rhymes and all that. So I like to continue. I like to give back.
That's wonderful. So, other than all of this philanthropy, you've also been writing for a bridge column for more than 2 decades now in Sunday Midday, and then you also wrote in Jet Wings, the Jet Airways magazine. So, what was the public reaction when you first came out with it?
I was surprised, and then so many people whom I didn't even know, and they said they used to ask me that are you Hema Deora? And I used to say, so they enjoy your column, and for when they were flying jet wing, and quite a few people who read on Sunday midday. So it gave me satisfaction. And my columns are not only like a simple description of the hand, but I always give a tip where one can follow that thing and enjoy that particular way of playing the game.
So, each column is just 230 words, I believe, and it takes you a few hours to write. So, what is the discipline of writing about one hand, one lesson in that limited space? And what does it force you to understand about bridge more clearly?
Well, initially I started writing because Mr. James Shah used to give me a lot of deals, and he used to tell me, see, these are very nice deals, and why don't you write in such a way? So I began. Then after he passed away, by that time we used to get a printout, and even now we get a printout. And when we play the hands, the printout is there, and I realized that this particular game would have been made if it was played in a certain way. So I write about that. Or sometimes the defense is so well, the making game can be, defeated with the correct defense. So now I have got used to describing how the bidding should be, how the defense should be, how it could be made, or how it would be defeated. So now these printout deals makes it easier for me to form the game. And then I work on that.
Right. So how do you choose which hands you write about? Is it something that's technically interesting, something with a universal lesson, or just something that surprises you?
Oh, everything, it more than surprises, it has a meaning to write that if as I just mentioned, if I find that if it is defeated in such a way, there are a lot of ways of throw in, unblocking, squeeze. So if it is worked on those bases, how the hand could be made or could not be made with the right defense. So they all interest me, and accordingly I make a composition.
Right.
Sometimes some people give me the hands, to play, and they say this is a nice hand and can you write this? So I write that also.
So you became an Asian Games medalist. What was it like walking into the Games village as part of the first Indian bridge contingent?
Oh, that was very interesting and very sweet and funny because when I reached there, when I went into the village, I saw all these athletes, and they were naturally all young. Some were the runners, some were the, what's her name? Kong, the famous person of the wrestler and all that. And they all asked me, you're the coach for which athlete? So I said, I'm not a coach, but I'm a player. And I said, I play bridge. And they said, what is bridge? So I explained to them and I said, look, you're young and fit now, but when you become old like me, and you need to be doing something. And I said, this is a mind sport. Yes. So now you are doing physical game, but later on you can do your mind sport. And they were quite amazed. And when I got my medal, they all came and so sweetly wished me, congratulations. They were sweet athletes. And then when we went to Delhi to get our medal, they all were there, and some of them got the medals, so it was lovely to meet them.
So your husband actually played a significant role in having bridge recognized as a mind sport in India by the Sports Ministry, a shift that meant the Bridge Federation of India went from self-funded to government supported. So what do you believe that recognition means for the future of the game in India, and what do you wish the wider public understood about bridge as a serious sport?
It's a very important question. Let me tell you, when I was representing the country and going abroad everywhere, and along with me, the other people and the team, we all had to spend our own money, and it was costing quite a lot. And my husband realized that, okay, we can afford, but what about the people who cannot afford but have the ability to come up and shine and do these things? So when he was the petroleum minister, he took the Bridge Federation of India, that is BFI secretary, Mr. Anand Samant, to the sports ministry, and he introduced him to the sports minister, and he told the sports minister, this sport has to come under the mind sport, and you have to support this sport, and you have to give the encouragement and funding to all these people who represent our country for the mind sport. And that's how 2018, first time, when Asian game where I won the medal, the government who sponsored every player with the money. I never took the money from the government thing, but the rest of the people who couldn't afford were paid by the government. And that has encouraged a lot of youngsters now to come up and play. And I'm so happy about it because now they are working hard to do well to represent our country and not at their own cost and the pocket. Otherwise, it was very hard to take out the money from the pocket.
So you've also often said that bridge teaches you lessons beyond the table. So what has the game taught you about life?
Well, it's very difficult to compare life and bridge. It's still, you're born with certain qualities, and some people have a temperament, some people have intolerance. So they are just born like that, which shows on the table sometimes. But it just teaches you basically when you're certain things not to do when you're at the table and playing with your partner. You can have your own minus and plus points, but you learn how to behave with your partner, and you wish and hope that your partner also behaves the same way. That's what you can't compare it with life, because life is a big struggle to grow up, and bridge is just a sport. So it's a different ball game altogether.
So bridge is inherently a partnership game. So what do you think makes a good partnership and partner in bridge?
Basically, the partner has to understand your temperament. You have to understand partner's temperament, and you have to learn to tolerate each other. Their mistakes, your mistakes, the partner has to understand. You both have to be patient, and you both have to work hard together to find the results. But basically, partnership is like having a friend around across the table. But in bridge, it's very seldom it's the friend who is the bridge partner, and vice versa. But basically, you have to be a little more patient with each other.
So if someone listening today feels they're too old to start something new, what advice would you give them?
I would give them, just don't back out. Learn anything what you want to learn. Maybe you will be having ability to learn singing, and you feel now I'm too old, but never mind. There are teachers who teach you when you're old, and you can learn whatever you want. At least make an effort. Maybe it's in you, and it will blossom even at the age of 70 or 80. I remember during COVID time, I learned singing because I could not go out, and I had an amazing teacher online, and I never sang before, and I didn't want to. But now I can sing. I can sing even semi-classical songs, and so if what I couldn't do in my younger age, I did everything what I can.
That's wonderful. So initially you started off not knowing what a spade was, but within a few years you stood on an Asian Games podium. So looking back, what do you think your journey says about reinvention?
Same thing as I mentioned, that you have to make an effort to develop any hobby which you're fond of. And I'm sure the day comes you can also be on the podium sometimes. And I thought of this, especially my husband. I wish he was there. He would have been so happy and proud about it. And so would be Mr. J.M. Shah. So these two people came in my mind first.
So, Mrs. Deora, you grew up in a home where cards were forbidden. You spent years on the other side of the table making a quiche unnoticed, and then quietly on your own terms, you sat down and learned what a spade was. What followed was not just a hobby, it was a national trial won, country represented, a medal at the Asian Games, a column that has run for over 2 decades, and a legacy that carries the name of the man you loved into the game you love. But what I'll take from this conversation isn't the medals or the accolades, it's something simpler. The idea that the table you were never invited to can become the one you end up owning. So, thank you for your generosity, your candor, and reminding us that reinvention doesn't have an age limit. To everyone listening, if this episode made you think it might be too late to start something, I hope Mrs. Deora just answered that for you. Thank you.